Boston, on a radiant morning, the graduation hall was packed, applause echoing like thunder. Yet among the rows reserved for family, 5 empty seats sat cold and cruel, cutting into Maya Thompson's heart like a knife. She stood on stage receiving her MBA diploma, eyes scanning desperately for familiar faces, but they were all gone. Her parents, her husband, her 2 children, even her brother. Where were they? The answer wasn't at the university, but at a place glittering with champagne and music. The yacht launch party that Brandon, her brother, had deliberately scheduled for the same day. Maya, 36 years old, a devoted mother and diligent accountant, had prepared for this moment for years. But in her family's eyes, her achievement was smaller than Brandon's display of wealth and status. He was the golden child, always favored. Worse still, Connor, the husband who once promised, "I'll always be by your side," chose instead to take Logan and Emma to the party, leaving Maya alone on stage. Honor, respect, her standing as a wife and mother, all shattered in that instant. And when social media filled with images of her family beaming on the yacht at the exact moment her name was announced, Maya knew. This wasn't just absence, it was betrayal. What her family never expected was that Maya would turn that pain into power. And like every unforgettable revenge story, this was only the beginning. Maya Thompson had always been the kind of woman who carried the weight of everything in silence, never asking for applause. Living in a quiet neighborhood near Beacon Hill in Boston, she rose at 5 every morning to prepare breakfast for Logan and Emma, brewed Connor's black coffee, then finally sat at the kitchen table with her laptop to review client ledgers before driving the kids to school. It was a rhythm she knew by heart, steady and reliable. And for Maya, it brought a sense of safety. She worked as an accountant at Beacon Mutual, a long-standing insurance company in the city center. Her coworkers admired her for her accuracy, her supervisors respected her for her perseverance, but her family was a different story. In the eyes of her parents, Harold and Janet, their son Brandon was the true pride. A flashy real estate broker, he always appeared in sharp suits, dangling keys to luxury cars, and showing off photos of yachts, pools, and hotels. At every family gathering, Brandon commanded the spotlight, while Maya blended into the background like a shadow. "Girls don't need careers, just stability," Janet once remarked when Maya proudly announced she had been accepted into an evening MBA program. Connor, her husband, offered only a half smile. "Go ahead and study, but don't forget to take care of the kids." Maya didn't argue, but inside she felt the sting of those words. One thing that helped her hold firm was the family priority charter. A set of rules Maya had drafted years ago, after Brandon scheduled his birthday on the same day as Logan's piano recital. The charter was taped to the living room wall, right next to a color-coded calendar. It clearly stated, red-marked events were milestones that could not be canceled, and anyone absent would lose the right to make decisions in future family plans. To make it more binding, Maya added a clause that all RSVPs required a deposit, and anyone who broke the commitment would pay the fee and face consequences. Connor had once chuckled, "Sounds like corporate policy." Maya replied firmly, "Without rules, everyone will just keep ignoring me." But in reality, the Thompsons never truly respected it. They nodded when it was first introduced, then conveniently forgot whenever Brandon had something new planned. Still, Maya kept her ritual. Every night, after putting Logan and Emma to bed, she sat at the oak table, red marker in hand, circling important dates, holidays, birthdays, deadlines for her thesis. On the table sat a small photo frame of her with the kids at Cape Cod Beach, a reminder of her vow to teach them the importance of showing up. "Mom, why is our calendar always full of red?" Emma once asked, watching her mother write. "Because every moment of ours is important." Maya answered with a gentle smile. Logan chimed in, "But Uncle Brandon says his parties are the real big events." Maya tightened her grip on the red marker, her silence heavier than any words. She loved her children enough to overlook her family's favoritism, but deep down, she knew this unfairness was widening a chasm. Connor, meanwhile, often chose the easy way out, siding with the majority, staying silent when Maya needed him most. "I don't want to make things tense with my parents," he would say. That was the line Maya hated the most, because it meant she was left to face everything alone. Yet she remained patient. She believed that with her MBA diploma within reach, the senior analyst position ahead, and a career on the rise, her voice would finally matter. Every night, she carefully folded the invitation to her upcoming interview and tucked it in a drawer beside her red marker, as a reminder of what she was fighting for. Then, on a Friday evening, while organizing papers in the living room, her phone buzzed. On the family group chat, Brandon had posted a photo of an invitation. Yacht launch party, Sunday at 10 a.m., Charles River Esplanade. Everyone must be there. Immediately below, her parents responded with clapping emojis, and Connor simply tapped a heart. Maya's eyes caught the date instantly. It was the same day as her graduation at Northeastern University. Her heart skipped a beat. The red marker slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. A cold dread swept over her. Because this time, if the charter was ignored again, she knew something terrible was bound to happen. Sunday morning, the sunlight poured over Boston as if sharing in Maya's joy. She slipped into her deep blue gown, draped the red stole across her shoulders, and walked downstairs with her heart brimming with anticipation. This was her day. The day she finally closed the chapter on 3 years of late nights and quiet determination to earn her MBA. Everything was ready. 5 VIP seats reserved for her family, the program with her name highlighted, and on the kitchen counter, the family calendar marked in red with the words graduation, do not miss. But what she found waiting wasn't excitement. It was a hastily folded note left beside a coffee cup. Connor's handwriting was clear. Maya, I'm taking Logan and Emma to Brandon's boat party. The family should be there to support him. Don't be upset. I know you'll shine on your own. Maya froze. The coffee was still warm, but her hand turned cold. She crushed the paper in her fist, each word slicing into her. Connor, the man who once swore he'd always stand beside her, had chosen to go. Not just alone, but taking their children with him. She tried to steady herself. It's fine, at least my parents will come, she whispered. But when she checked her phone, the family group chat lit up with messages. Harold wrote at 9:32 a.m., see everyone at the dock. Brandon, we're so proud. Janet followed at 9:34 a.m., champagne is ready, we'll check in soon. Connor responded with nothing but a heart emoji. Not a word about Maya. Her chest ached. Parents, husband, children, all of them had chosen Brandon. Inside Northeastern's Grand Hall, Maya clutched the program tight, forcing herself to swallow the lump in her throat. Thousands cheered as graduates were called one by one, yet 5 empty chairs in the VIP section loomed like a glaring accusation. No one came for you. When the announcer's voice rang out, Maya Thompson, Master of Business Administration, she walked to the stage. Applause echoed, cameras flashed, but the spotlight revealed nothing where her family should have been. She accepted the diploma, bowed, lips trembling. Renee, her colleague and close friend, waved encouragement, but the pity in her eyes made Maya feel even more hollow. 3 years of effort, countless sleepless nights, all reduced to a picture of isolation beneath the lights. As she stepped down, her phone buzzed. She opened it, and her breath caught. A photo filled the screen. The family on Brandon's yacht, champagne glasses raised high, captioned, Family First, celebrating Brandon's new dock. The timestamp read 11:05 a.m., the exact moment her name was called. The words Family First burned like cruel mockery. Tears streamed down, falling onto the edge of her diploma. She whispered to herself, Family first, but not for me. After the ceremony, Maya sat alone on the stone steps outside. Other graduates embraced their parents, posed for pictures, laughed in celebration. Maya clutched her diploma against her chest. Renee sat beside her, placed a hand on her shoulder, and said softly, You did amazing, Maya. Let me take a few photos for you. Maya forced a smile, but her eyes were dry, hardened. In her mind, the pieces fell together. Connor's note, the empty chairs, the family on the yacht. All of it became a case file etched into her heart. She no longer cried. Instead, a chilling clarity spread through her. For the first time in her life, Maya saw the truth. No one would stand with her unless she stood for herself. But just as she resolved to head home, her phone buzzed again. A strange number appeared. A rushed voice on the line said, Are you Logan's mother? Your son had an accident on the dock. He's been admitted to Mass General. Maya froze, her diploma slipping from her arms, falling onto the stone steps. In that moment, she had no idea that the shock of her graduation was only the beginning. Because in the emergency room, she would face something even more painful, a full family reunion, but not for her, only because of an accident. And then, but worse was coming. Maya rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding, clutching her MBA diploma so tightly that the edges had creased. When she arrived, the entrance to the ER was already crowded. Connor sat beside Emma, trying to calm her with a juice box. Harold and Janet whispered prayers under their breath, while Brandon strode back and forth like a general commanding his troops. The scene looked like a family reunion, complete, warm, supportive, but not for Maya. She stood at the doorway, gasping for breath, unnoticed by anyone. When the doctor came out and explained that Logan hadn't suffered any serious injury and only needed monitoring, Janet exhaled in relief and said immediately, "Thank goodness, nothing too serious. The boat party was interrupted, but at least it wasn't too bad." Maya froze. The boat party was interrupted? And what about her graduation? The 5 empty seats, the humiliation? No one mentioned it. Her voice trembled as she asked, "And my ceremony? Didn't anyone notice those empty chairs?" Silence. Connor looked away. Brandon shrugged, smirking. "Come on, Maya. Graduations happen every year. My yacht only has one launch." In that moment, Maya felt erased from the family portrait. Her presence meant nothing. Even in the ER, with a child in a hospital bed, Brandon and his party remained the priority. Later, she sat on a hard plastic chair in the hallway, scrolling her phone for comfort. What appeared on the screen was a nightmare. Brandon had just posted another photo. The entire family gathered at the ER, captioned, "Even in tough times, family sticks together. Family strong, boat party interrupted." The post quickly racked up dozens of likes and glowing comments. Such a united family. So admirable, always there for each other. Connor had tapped like. Harold and Janet left heart emojis. Not a single word about Maya standing alone at her graduation only hours earlier. Her hands shook, her chest tightened. She quickly saved the photo as evidence, time-stamped at 2:46 p.m., Facebook post by Brandon with the caption, "Family strong." She wanted to scream, "I am family too." Yet in that photo, she was invisible. No one photographed her at the ceremony, no one mentioned her MBA, no one offered public support. A text lit up her phone. It was Renee. "Maya? I just saw Brandon's new post. They've erased you." Maya's reply was short. "I know, they erased me." To the world outside, Brandon was the centerpiece, the proud brother surrounded by a united family. And Maya was nobody, an invisible shadow. Social media, the very place that could have immortalized her achievement, had instead been hijacked by Brandon's yacht and Logan's accident. When Logan was finally moved into a recovery room, Maya sat by his bedside. The boy weakly took her hand, his eyes innocent. "Mom, why weren't we there with you today?" Emma, sitting nearby, added, "Uncle Brandon said his party was more important. Is that true, Mom?" The questions pierced like knives. Maya hugged them both, her voice shaking as she tried to stay calm. "No, what matters to me, and to us, is just as important as anyone else's." But her throat burned, her eyes welled. Connor remained silent, refusing to meet her gaze. Brandon, leaning casually against the doorframe, smirked. Kids always know where the fun is. Even her children, the reason she endured everything, were being pulled into Brandon's orbit. Their innocent words revealed the most painful truth. In their eyes, Maya's importance was already being diminished. She wasn't just dismissed by her family, she was at risk of losing her role as an example to her own children. 3 blows in one day stripped Maya of her patience. The empty chairs at Northeastern, the silence in the ER, the smug family strong post, and the innocent yet wounding question from her kids, all of it combined to show her she had been pushed completely outside the circle. She had no voice, no recognition, no presence in this so-called perfect family story that Brandon was orchestrating. That night, when the family finally returned home from the chaos, Maya stayed in the living room by herself. On the table lay her MBA diploma, next to the crumpled note Connor had left that morning. She opened her laptop and began carefully archiving every piece of evidence. The empty chairs photo, the boat party post, the family chat log, the ER post. She saved them into one folder, and titled it, Empty Chairs. Her eyes no longer glistened with tears. They were dry, sharp, and cold. She realized that if she remained silent, she would be erased forever. Boundaries had to be drawn, rules had to be enforced, and this time she would make them listen. Meanwhile, Brandon was basking in satisfaction. Over dinner with Harold and Janet, he declared, "From now on, all family events should be held on the yacht. That's the real center." Janet nodded. Harold clapped him on the shoulder. Connor said nothing. Brandon leaned back and laughed. If anyone has a problem, they'll just have to get used to it. What Brandon didn't know was that this overreach, his ambition to make everything revolve around himself, was about to open the door for Maya's counterattack. And the real game was only just beginning. 2 days after the hospital incident, Maya returned to the office. Her MBA diploma still sat in a paper bag on her desk, not yet framed or hung. When she opened her company email, a message waited for her, an invitation to interview for the senior analyst position, the opportunity she had been working toward for months. She inhaled deeply, whispering to herself, this could be the turning point. But before she could respond, her phone buzzed. The family group chat was alive with chatter. Brandon had sent a photo with a message, timestamp 10:15 a.m. Brandon wrote, "Family, I'm hosting the official doc celebration next month. From now on, all family events should take place there for a touch of class. Drop a heart if you agree." Harold and Janet tapped hearts instantly. Connor responded with a firework emoji. No one mentioned Maya's upcoming birthday, a date she had already marked bright red on the family calendar. A sharp ache settled in Maya's chest. Brandon wasn't satisfied with stealing the spotlight once. He wanted to turn every milestone into a stage for himself, positioning his yacht as the center of family life. That evening, in the living room, Maya spread out the red-marked calendar on the table and pointed to her birthday. "Connor, you know the charter," she said firmly. "My birthday is a red event. No one has the right to change that." Connor sighed heavily. "I get it, but don't you think you're making too much of this? Mom and Dad just want the family together on the yacht. It's supposed to be fun." Maya stared at him, stunned. "You too? You saw me standing alone on that stage. Wasn't that enough?" Connor avoided her gaze. "I don't want tension. I don't want to be the one who ruins the mood." His words shredded what patience she had left. In that moment, Maya realized even Connor, the person she trusted most, was fully siding with the majority. She was cornered. No one in her family was on her side. The next day, Renee stopped by her office and slid an envelope across the desk. "You need to see this," she said gravely. Inside was a printed email Renee had stumbled upon while helping with IT support at the real estate firm where Brandon worked. Its contents were short but damning. Timestamp 8:43 p.m. Brandon had written to Connor. "Handle the Maya situation. She'll get over it. The yacht is the future of this family. Don't let her drag everyone off course." Maya read it again and again, her hands trembling. This wasn't mere thoughtlessness. It was a plan. Brandon had convinced Connor to side with him, shaping a family orbit around his own interests. Her husband had been quietly enlisted as an accomplice. Her breath caught in her throat. For years, she had endured her parents' favoritism, but at least she believed Connor would hold the balance. Now she saw that even he was part of Brandon's machinery. 4 words, handle the Maya situation, extinguished the last spark of hope. She felt utterly defeated. She had no allies within the family. Only Renee remained, an outsider willing to stand beside her. Against Brandon, backed by Harold, Janet, and even Connor, she was a speck of dust in a storm. That night, the family gathered for what they called a healing dinner at Harold and Janet's house. Maya went, clinging to a thin hope that her voice might be heard. But at the table, the conversation revolved around the yacht. Brandon boasted about new deals, upcoming clients, his expanding empire. Harold and Janet nodded eagerly, showering him with praise. Connor laughed nervously, tossing in the occasional compliment. When Maya finally spoke, "I want to talk about my graduation and about the charter we all agreed on." Harold cut her off. "Maya, sweetheart, why do you keep clinging to that? The whole family was at the hospital. That's what really mattered." Janet added, "Yes, and the ceremony? Well, it was just a ceremony." Brandon delivered the final blow. "Stop complicating things, Maya. Families need unity. Unity means following the orbit we've built." Maya's eyes swept the table, searching desperately for someone to back her. Silence. Connor stared down at his plate. Logan and Emma, distracted with their food, didn't understand. It felt like a wall had risen around her, thick and impenetrable, locking her out completely. She returned home drained, carrying the untouched paper bag with her diploma still inside. It remained unframed, as if mocking her. All her effort, all her sacrifice, felt meaningless. That night, she sat alone in the living room. On her laptop, she reopened the folder she had created. Empty chairs. The photos of the vacant seats, the family first post, the family strong photo from the ER, and now the email telling Connor to handle the Maya situation. Each piece cut like a blade, but together they began forming a larger picture. Her eyes fell on the red-marked calendar lying on the table. Each square circled non-negotiable reminded her of the charter, the only safeguard her family had once pretended to honor. Maya picked up the red pen, her hand steady this time. "If they won't respect the rules," she whispered, "I'll make them." She remembered Janet's words in the ER. It was just a ceremony. Those words became fuel. To Maya, it wasn't just a ceremony, it was proof that her existence mattered, that her work couldn't be erased. If her family continued gaslighting her, eroding her value, then the charter would be her weapon. In the quiet stillness of night, Maya circled a new date on the calendar. Birthday dinner, North End restaurant, red locked. Beside it, she wrote in bold letters, "Show up or lose say." For the first time, Maya thought of revenge, not with shouting or tears, but with the very rules she had once drafted. The charter would become her lever, her shield, her sword, and in that moment, a plan began to form. Maya was no longer waiting for her family to recognize her worth. She would force them to. Revenge would not be loud or reckless, but cold, methodical, and undeniable. Maya had taken her first step. She was ready to build her retaliation, grounded in the family priority charter. After that fateful night, Maya knew she could no longer stay silent. She opened her laptop, pulling up the empty chairs folder, already filled with fragments of evidence, the photo of 5 empty seats at Northeastern, the family first post from the boat party, the ER photo tagged Family Strong, and the printed email where Brandon had written to Connor, "Handle the Maya situation." But Maya understood that to turn the tide, she needed more. In the following weeks, she carefully gathered every new piece of proof. Each time Brandon bragged about his yacht, every dismissive text from her parents, each note Connor left on the kitchen counter, all of it was photographed and archived. One evening, she captured a particularly cruel line, timestamped 7:52 p.m. Harold wrote in the group chat, "Maya always makes things dramatic. Brandon is the one who really brings the family together." Each word cut deep, but instead of deleting, Maya filed it away with clinical precision, like an auditor compiling a case. She knew she couldn't face this war alone. She turned to Renee, her colleague and the only person who had witnessed the empty chair humiliation at graduation. "I can't let them erase me again," Maya whispered, voice trembling yet resolute. Renee clasped her hand. "Then we won't let them. I'll stand with you. Let's make them see the truth." Beyond Renee, Maya had other assets. The graduation photo with timestamp, the program proving her absence was noticed. Connor's note showing his choice of party over wife, the color-coded calendar and the receipt for the North End restaurant reservation, the coveted senior analyst interview invitation, her key to independence. These small things, once overlooked, were now weapons. With Renee's support, Maya began weaving them into a plan. She also knew the plan carried major risks. First, her family might dismiss her as overdramatic and refuse to participate. Second, Connor could remain silent, leaving her with no marital support. Third, Logan and Emma were young and easily swayed. They might choose their uncle's fun over their mother's milestones. Fourth, if her North End birthday dinner turned into an empty hall, her plan would collapse, and her standing would sink even further. But Maya was willing to gamble. She designed her scheme like a courtroom trial. Step 1. Summon the family to her living room for what she would call the family council. Step 2. Present the evidence, forcing everyone to confront the truth. Step 3. Lay down the rules, pointing to the charter and the red-marked calendar. Step 4. Announce her birthday dinner at North End as a red-locked event. Step 5. Declare that anyone who attended and signed the charter before witnesses would retain their voice in family decisions. Anyone who refused would lose it. This wouldn't just be a birthday, it would be a public test, a wager with her entire family. As she refined the plan, Maya realized she needed an advantage no one expected. She assembled a binder of documents, but tucked away inside was something she didn't reveal, not even to Renee. A secret ace, hidden until the moment of greatest impact. In her mind, the sequence became sharp and clear. First, the summons, then the presentation of photos, texts, and posts. Next, the reminder of the charter, placed boldly on the table, then the announcement of the birthday dinner as the singular chance to prove change. Finally, the test. Those who showed up would keep their voice, those absent would lose it. One night, as Connor walked past, Maya asked quietly, "Will you be there?" He hesitated. "Maya, I'm not sure this is the right way." She met his eyes firmly. "There is no other way. If they won't save me a seat, I'll carve one for myself." In the evenings, Maya sat at the familiar oak table, the lamp casting a glow over the red-marked calendar. Logan and Emma slept upstairs. Connor shut himself in silence, while Maya patiently slipped each piece of evidence into protective sleeves. Renee often dropped by, helping polish her words and arrange the slides. Maya rehearsed like a lawyer before trial. Her voice steady, she repeated, "This is the photo of 5 empty chairs at 11:05 a.m. This is Connor's note, choosing the party over his family. This is Brandon's post, uploaded at the exact moment my name was called. This is the internal email, handle the Maya situation." Each line she drilled into memory until it burned into her bones. Yet as Maya built her case, Connor drifted further away. One evening he muttered, "Maya, I don't want this to turn into a war. Brandon might be selfish, but he just wants the family to have fun." A chill ran through her. "You call abandoning your wife at graduation fun?" Connor had no reply. His silence told her all she needed to know. In this gamble, she could not count on him. Then, just as her plan neared completion, a message from Renee arrived. "Maya, you need to know. Brandon booked a private dining hall on the yacht for the exact same day as your birthday dinner. He's calling it the family gala." Maya went numb. Brandon wasn't just ignoring the red-marked date. He was openly staging a rival event, dragging the family to his side. Her carefully laid plan was under threat before it even began. And with that, Maya understood. Her revenge plan was no longer just a gamble. It was now a battle against a man willing to rewrite the rules entirely. Her secret ace would have to wait. For the moment, she stared at her glowing red calendar, her pen still clutched tight, and whispered to herself, "This isn't over." The unexpected twist. Brandon scheduling a family gala on her birthday now loomed as the first true challenge that could shatter Maya's carefully constructed revenge plan. Friday evening, Maya's living room was spotless. The red-marked calendar sat squarely on the oak table, beside a binder packed with plastic sleeves of evidence and a laptop connected to the TV screen. The warm golden light of the lamps cast an atmosphere that felt less like a cozy family gathering and more like a courtroom awaiting its judge. A week earlier, Maya had sent out her invitations, not through texts or calls, but on thick paper. Delivered directly. Family council summons. Agenda: the charter and red-locked event. Attendance mandatory. Friday 7 p.m. Location: Maya's living room. Attached was an image of the red calendar, stamped with the phrase she had repeated for years. Show up or lose say. Connor, though reluctant, passed the message on to his parents. Brandon sneered when he heard of it. A council? Let's see what kind of drama she wants this time. Yet when the clock struck 7, Harold, Janet, and Brandon all arrived. Connor took a seat across from Maya. Logan and Emma nestled close beside their mother. Renee, calm and watchful, sat quietly in the corner as witness. The air thickened with tension from the very first second. Maya rose, her voice deliberate and slow. "Tonight, I'm not speaking about feelings. I'm presenting facts." She tapped the remote. On the TV appeared the photo of 5 empty seats in Northeastern's hall, time-stamped 11:05 a.m. This was the day I worked 3 years for, and this was where my family was supposed to sit. Brandon chuckled. "Maya, they're just a few chairs," she cut him off. "No, they're absence. And absence has evidence." The next slide filled the screen with Connor's note from that morning. "I'm taking Logan and Emma to Brandon's boat party. Don't be upset." Connor flushed, looking away from her eyes. "Next," Maya continued, voice hard. "The exact moment I received my diploma, here is what the rest of you were doing." She zoomed in on a screenshot. Timestamp 11:06 a.m., a Facebook Live from the yacht, Janet laughing brightly, the caption blaring, "Family first, always together." The room fell silent. Brandon's usual laugh died in his throat. Maya placed the red calendar squarely in the middle of the table. The family priority charter. Drafted years ago. Everyone agreed. Red-marked events cannot be ignored. Anyone absent loses their say in decisions. Show up or lose say. Harold frowned. Maya, we never really treated it like law. Her eyes sharpened. Then from today, we will. Otherwise, this family will remain the stage of one person. Brandon cleared his throat. You're making this too complicated. Maya shot back, voice unwavering. What's complicated is when promises become jokes. The law is simple. Respect it or lose your voice. She drew in a steady breath. Next week is my birthday. I've reserved a table at the Italian restaurant in North End. That event is red-locked. It's a test. Those who attend will sign the charter. Those who don't will lose their place in family decisions. Connor hesitated. Maya, do you really think? She cut him off. There is no other way. Brandon threw his head back in laughter. You really think they'll skip my gala for your birthday dinner? Everyone's been looking forward to it. You'll only embarrass yourself. Janet added softly. Maya, we just want the family together. The gala is a wonderful chance. But Maya stood firm. If the gala matters more, then remember, lose say. She handed each of them an official invitation, with the charter clause printed in bold. Renee stood, her voice steady. I am here as witness. Signing means commitment. Harold wavered, looking at Janet. She whispered, just sign. They scribbled their names reluctantly. Brandon crossed his arms, eyes gleaming with defiance. Fine, I'll sign. But don't expect me to skip my gala. I'll prove who really is the center. Maya turned to Connor. And you? He picked up the pen, held it a moment, then set it down. I won't sign. I don't want to turn this family into a battleground. A ripple of noise erupted. Brandon seized the chance. See? Even your husband doesn't believe in you. You're turning this into a farce. Janet shook her head. Maya, stop before you isolate yourself completely. Harold added, we need harmony. Clinging to this will only make things worse. Maya's blood roared in her ears. The hours of preparation, the binder, the slides, the charter, were unraveling. Connor, her last chance at balance, had stepped away. For a moment, it felt like she was back at square one, abandoned, surrounded, voiceless. Renee leaned closer and whispered, they're pushing you to surrender. Maya inhaled sharply, then turned to her children. Logan, Emma, tell the truth. On my graduation day, what did we promise? Logan mumbled, we promised to be there. Emma added, but we went to the boat. Maya nodded, voice cutting through the silence. Exactly, even children remember. The charter isn't child's play, it's a promise. If adults break it, adults face the consequences. Connor bowed his head in shame. Brandon faltered, his smirk fading. Harold and Janet sat speechless. Maya's voice grew stronger. I don't need your recognition. I need my children to understand. Promises must be backed by presence. The atmosphere shifted. For the first time, Brandon lost ground. Janet exhaled heavily. Maybe Maya has a point. Harold said nothing, but his face darkened with thought. Connor's eyes flicked between his children and his wife, uncertainty clouding his expression. Maya knew the balance had shifted, though victory was not yet hers. The meeting ended in a heavy silence. As everyone began to leave, Connor delivered one last blow. Maya, no matter what you do, Brandon's gala will be bigger. Everyone will choose fun over rules. The words landed like a dagger. Maya clutched her binder tighter, her eyes burning with resolve. If they choose his gala, I still have one last move. The final image, Maya quietly opening her binder, fingers brushing against a thick envelope she had never shown anyone. Renee caught the glimpse, whispering, "What is that?" Maya only smiled faintly, offering no answer. One last move. The night of her birthday, the Italian restaurant in North End glowed with light and the rich scent of wine. The space was elegant. White tablecloths perfectly pressed, crystal glasses arranged in precise rows. This was no ordinary celebration. It was a battleground where the truth would be forced into the open. Maya sat at the head of the table, beside her a freshly printed copy of the family priority charter. A red pen rested like a gavel, ready to strike. Renee, seated quietly in the corner, had already linked her laptop to the large screen to display the evidence. The restaurant doors swung open. Brandon entered with a triumphant smile, his suit pressed, Harold and Janet following close behind. His voice dripped arrogance. "Happy birthday, little sister. But you should know, the gala on the yacht tonight is packed. Everyone important is there, not here." Connor trailed after them, face tight with unease. Logan and Emma clung close to their mother, eyes wide with anticipation. All of them were waiting for the confrontation to unfold. Maya rose, her voice sharp and steady. "Tonight isn't just my birthday. It's a public hearing. I will show the truth you've all chosen to deny." On the screen appeared the photo of 5 empty seats in the northeastern hall. She spoke slowly, each word slicing the silence. "This was the moment I received my MBA. These were the seats reserved for my family. 5 chairs, all empty." Without pause, she clicked to the next slide. The note Connor had left on the kitchen counter filled the screen. "I'm taking the kids to the boat party. Don't be upset." Her voice wavered briefly, then hardened. "This is how my husband chose a party over standing by his wife on her most important day." Connor lowered his head, unable to respond. The following image struck harder. A photo of the family on Brandon's yacht, champagne glasses raised, posted at the exact time Maya's name was called. The caption glared across the screen, "Family first." The cruel irony sucked the air from the room. Janet raised a trembling hand to her mouth. Harold shook his head, disoriented, but Maya pressed on. The ER photo appeared next, tagged "Family Strong." She enunciated each word. "They reunited at a hospital, but not one of them stood by me on that stage." The room was silent, suffocating. Then came the final slide. An internal email, Brandon's words glowing on the screen. "Handle the Maya situation. The yacht is the family's future. Don't let her pull everyone off course." Whispers filled the room. Harold's voice cut sharp. "Brandon, did you really write this?" Brandon stammered. "It was just a joke, nothing serious." Sweat glistened on his forehead, betraying him. Maya leaned forward, her tone like steel. "Not finished. Here is the last piece." She pulled a thick envelope from her binder and tossed it onto the table. Inside was a draft of a power of attorney Brandon had prepared with a lawyer. It stated that if Maya were ever deemed mentally unfit, full control of assets and family decisions would pass to Brandon. Alongside it was a draft email, never sent, plotting the use of tranquilizers to frame her as unstable, rendering the charter void. The room exploded. Janet burst into tears. "Brandon, how could you?" Harold clenched his fists, his face flushed with fury. Connor paled, unable to meet Maya's eyes. Renee projected the signatures and system timestamps onto the screen, undeniable proof. Brandon shouted, desperate, "This isn't true. She made this up to tear us apart." Maya slammed her palm on the table, her voice thunderous. "No, that is your electronic signature. That is your draft, saved in the system. This is evidence that you tried to erase me from my own family. This isn't favoritism anymore. It's an attempted coup." No one defended Brandon now. Janet trembled. "Maya, I didn't know. I was blind." Harold glared at his son, his tone dark. "You betrayed all of us." Maya turned to her parents. "This is the man you favored all your lives. He tried to cut me, my children, and even the charter out. Tonight, the truth is revealed. If you want to keep your voice in this family, sign the charter. Refuse, and you lose that voice forever." Hesitation melted. Harold picked up the red pen and signed. Janet followed, tears staining the page. Connor stepped forward, his voice unsteady. "Maya, I was wrong to stay silent. I'm sorry. I promise I'll never abandon your milestones again." He signed. Brandon stood rigid, color drained from his face as every eye turned to him. Under the crushing weight, he finally bowed his head, muttering, "I'm sorry, Maya. I was wrong." His hand shook as he signed, surrendering the center stage he had clung to. The energy in the room shifted. Logan and Emma rushed into their mother's arms. "Happy birthday, Mom! We're here." For the first time, Maya smiled with genuine recognition. Her MBA diploma was placed proudly on the table beside the birthday cake. No more empty chairs, no more silence, only true presence. Maya raised her glass, her voice ringing like a verdict. "From this day forward, no one can erase me. Respect isn't in promises. It is in showing up when it matters most." Justice was served. Brandon lost his central privilege. Harold and Janet's favoritism collapsed. Connor began his path of redemption. And the charter, once dismissed as childish, had become binding law. The night ended with the clinking of glasses, but no one dared treat Maya's words lightly. She sat between her children, her eyes glowing with triumph. For the first time in years, the family had no choice but to listen. Yet deep inside, Maya knew this victory was only the beginning. Brandon had bowed, but the echoes of the war would linger. and the cracks that had fractured her family, only time would tell if they could ever truly heal. After the birthday night in North End, life in the Thompson family could never return to what it had been. Brandon, once bathed in praise and attention, now had to face the cost of his exposed schemes. His center stage privilege at family gatherings was gone. Whenever he wanted to plan an event, he was forced to check the red-marked calendar and reschedule if it clashed. The whispers of admiration from Harold and Janet no longer came. Instead, their eyes carried suspicion. The image of the golden child, built over years, dissolved, leaving only a man compelled to grow up in silence. Harold and Janet, shaken to their core, changed noticeably. They began consulting Maya for every plan, even asking, "Is this date red-locked?" Blind favoritism gave way, little by little, to fairness. Connor, once silent, transformed his silence into action. He volunteered to share household duties, drove the kids to school, and most importantly, made sure he was present at Maya's milestones. It was the first step toward repairing what had fractured. Maya stepped into her new normal. On the living room wall, her MBA diploma now hung proudly, right beside the photo of the 5 empty chairs, a permanent reminder of the boundary she had drawn. That birthday became the turning point. From then on, her red-marked dates were fully honored. She also officially submitted her application and was promoted to senior analyst, her voice now equal in the workplace and at home. Though painful, the story carried a thread of humanity. Connor, through honesty and effort, slowly reclaimed his role as a husband. Brandon, though late, bowed his head and began to learn the art of stepping back. And Harold and Janet, once defensive, shifted to listening, finally admitting their mistakes. The family was far from perfect, but Maya had secured the rightful place she and her children deserved. In a family, respect doesn't come from promises, but from showing up when it matters most. If they don't save you a seat, you must draw the boundary to save one for yourself. Maya's story has closed, but the lesson remains. Have you ever felt forgotten by your family or loved ones in a moment that meant everything to you? Would you choose silence and endure, or would you find the courage to stand and draw your own lines? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might just inspire someone else who needs to hear it. If Maya's journey resonated with you, hit like and subscribe to True Revenge Stories so you don't miss the gripping tales we bring, where justice and raw emotion collide. Every day, we share new revenge stories, slices of real life powerful enough to stir the heart and impossible to look away from. Do you want to explore more stories of dramatic turnarounds where the overlooked and underestimated rise to reclaim their place? Visit our playlist to watch more episodes, each one a unique journey of restoring balance and justice in its own way. And don't forget to share this video with your friends, because sometimes they too need a reminder that justice can always be served, if only we have the courage to demand it.